Now, French troops are tonight on the ground in Mali after a request from the West African country for help in their fight against Islamist militants. The Malian president has declared a state of emergency, and the United Nations has made a plea for an international force to be rapidly deployed. The militants linked to al-Qaeda, of course, took control of northern Mali almost a year ago. And there are real fears that they've been creating a base there for terrorist attacks on Western targets. Here's our international editor, Lindsay Hilson.
The jihadis are moving south. Their video shows them preparing to fight. Not content with controlling northern Mali, they took another town yesterday. The French president says they're brutal fanatics, and France can no longer stand aside.
I therefore, in the name of France, responding to a request for help from the Malian president and backed by West African states, this afternoon lent the support of the French armed forces to Malian forces to fight these terrorist elements. This operation will last as long as necessary.
Islamists control northern Mali, including the cities of Kidal, Gao and Timbuktu. Yesterday, they came down the road and took Konna, but today Malian troops seized it back, apparently helped by French forces who landed near Mopti last night, after a request by the Malian president in the capital, Bamako. The Malian army is weak and poorly trained. Its leaders more interested in mounting coups than fighting. It apparently took heavy casualties in Konna yesterday. A UN Security Council resolution calls for a West African intervention force to stabilise the country. But the international community has dithered so long that the French, who have 6,000 citizens in Mali, acted first. They want to crush the Islamists because they fear Mali will become an al-Qaeda base for attacks in Europe. But a leader of al-Qaeda in the Islamic Maghreb in Mali says intervention will provoke more violence.
If you want war, we will answer your wishes, and the Great Sahara will be transformed into a cemetery for your soldiers by the will of God. He who has conquered the US and its followers in Afghanistan and Iraq can defeat France and its agents in the Great Sahara and bury them in its burning sands.
Those in the most immediate danger, 8 French hostages, whom the Islamists have threatened to kill if France intervenes. In the Malian capital, Bamako, people fear the war creeping ever closer.
I
think that the Islamists must be stopped with the aid of the international community, because they won't stop here in Bamako, not even in Mali. It's the sub-region next, Europe, and the rest of the world that they'll try to attack.
The holy warriors say they'll never give in to old colonialists. Mali is set for more conflict, which could spread far beyond its borders.
And Lindsay Hilson joins us now. You've been talking to a lot of people in Mali today, haven't you? What are they telling you on the ground there?
Well, the latest we hear is that there have been French air raids on this town of Konna in the centre, so it seems the French have been very active today. What people were telling me was that the French arrived around 9 p.m. last night. We first of all got reports of transport planes, Hercules, coming in with troops and equipment. And amongst those who support the intervention, I've been talking to a former foreign minister who was saying, at last somebody's coming to try and help us. But others are extremely anxious because they feel that the intervention of a former colonial power will just up the ante and make Mali even more dangerous and violent.
And what about other countries getting involved? I mean, for example, what kind of assistance might we, the Brits, provide?
Well, William Hague, who's visiting Australia and New Zealand, said today that he supported the French intervention. And I know that the British have promised some kind of logistics and training. But we're really way beyond logistics and training for the Malian army. The French are clearly right on in there. There is some talk of some German troops possibly being there, and also West African forces, because the French want to give the idea that this is somehow African-led. It's not African-led. This is the French who've decided nobody else is doing something. They're going to go in and do it.
Lindsay, thanks very much.